So I want to start with this morning, with our little exchange. So you got a little pissed. You sound a little annoyed by my message. So just for anyone that's listening, I got a little freaked out because my wife got a little nervous. I was coming to Hebron by myself, and you were like, A, we agreed on this, and B, what the hell? Like, what's the problem, right?
Well, I didn't say what the hell. I said,
I'm paraphrasing.
I said, yeah, but let's paraphrase it correctly. I said that people come here every single day. There are tons of tour buses coming here every single day, full of children, grandparents, and let's not pull. I'm scared to go there now. That's if you want to come do a podcast about the cutting edge of things, then come out here with the rest of the folks of Israel and lovers of Israel and that come here every single day.
So, first of all, you're right, and I guess I don't know. I was analyzing it on the drive here. I was like, why was I so nervous? And it's just the image I have of this place. Okay, let me tell you my interactions with Hebron until now. So, before I was in media, I went on a trip. What's the name of that company, that organization? The previous soldiers, and they talk about their traumas.
Youristics.
Yeah.
Breaking the Silence.
Breaking the Silence. Yeah, I did one of those tours, and there was one in southern Hebron. And then, of course, it's just like what you read on the internet, right, or in the news. Like if you Wikipedia Hebron, it says it's a Palestinian city of 200-something thousand residents and a couple hundred Jewish families. And then there's just like what else you read, which is it's just a tense place. I remember one time I went to a photo gallery exhibit in Tel Aviv. We come into the frame, so no. And there was one photographer who was just documenting stuff, and you see pictures of religious people spitting on Arabs and stuff like this. So like all these images, I think, were basically what informed my freak out this morning. You're looking at me like I'm not joking.
It's just you're a victim.
Yeah.
You're really a victim of a narrative that the enemies of Israel want to draw, and it's sad to me because it's just like you go outside right now, you'll see Arab kids walking the street. I just walked past tons of Arab girls walking the street. You're going to see a lot of Jews coming to pray this morning. Tomorrow it's going to be Rosh Chodesh, so new month, so people are coming here. You're going to see events. Right now you just saw outside, we're rebuilding the guest house. Bezek is here, the phone company right now. And you're just going to see a normal, in a very special place, a very unique place in the world, a 4,000-year-old city that continues to be alive, that has a lot of decent relationships between Arabs and Jews, that has a religious site par excellence of just a global interest because it's the tombs of Abraham,
right,
founder of the Abrahamic path, which is Judaism, Christianity, Islam, etc.
Half the world.
Yeah, more. And we try so hard to bring in, and we have mechinot, all the pre-military academies come here. We have so many soldiers that run through here, and we treat them so well for their period of time here. Make sure that they have a great service period here, tour of duty. And the whole point is that we try to make it fun and awesome, but there are media elements and other elements that want to create an image of a scary and dangerous place. And so frankly, I have a definition for terrorism. The definition for terrorism is the broadcasting of fear.
The broadcasting of fear.
The broadcasting of fear. That's what terrorism is. It's not about really the localized act. It's much more about its spread. And the idea is to make a town like Hebron scary, seem and feel scary. Like when you and your wife were like, am I going to drive to Hebron? The reason that you had that hiccup is because you've already been terrorized, filled with a dread, a terror about this place, which is a false narrative. Not the reality at all.
Right.
And erase thereby our deep connection to this place, the beauty of and the specialness of this place, and just instead of being like, wow, what a schut, what a merit I have to drive to Hebron today. Wow, I can't believe I'm going to be this special place.
Yeah.
Like you're like, oh my God, You know what I mean? And so that's a.
Does it happen to? Do you get confronted with this often, or am I the only schmuck that thinks this way?
No. You are amongst a lot of people who are
Many
victims. Well, I mean,
I'm joking.
I mean I take the enemies of Israel very seriously, and so I think that they're doing a fabulous job at creating these narratives. So so it's not. I'm not looking at you as a schmuck. I'm more looking at them as successful. But of course, we have to overcome these sensations, these fears, these narratives, and get back to a more organic sense of ourselves in this land.
Right.
On top of that, speaking of schmuckness, right? How are we living in this land these days? We are living in these Tel Aviv ghettos where we're safe, but we're afraid to go to this other part of our land, of our ancestral land. It's pathetic. We have all these no-go zones in our land. In Jerusalem, you make a wrong turn in Jerusalem, to the neighborhood of Isawiya, you're in deep trouble, and the police are afraid to go in there, and it's just like we have really regressed into what I call the Ghetto Jew.
So
and that's just to me, it's a sad reality that we live in right now, and I would like to see Israel be the more strong on their land, aggressive with their rights, and organic, a sense of organic, like a Jew like you in Hebron should feel super organic. There I am in my ancestral city. This is where my fathers and mothers are born.
Right. Well, so I was analyzing that. You brought up some really interesting stuff. But so I was analyzing why am I so afraid, or why am I so nervous about this? And I think part of it is just my reptilian brain. So yes, it's the narrative that's been fed to me, and I'm sure some of it is true. It's not like this has been strictly peaceful the entire time.
No, but the way that they work is that they exaggerate things.
Right. That part gets amplified.
Right.
That's the only part that they get presented to you. Fair enough, right? And I'm human, right? Which is if for example a woman walks down a dark street and sees a bunch of guys, she might get nervous.
Definitely.
But that has no bearing at all on whether those guys are really out to rape her, or they're just, having fun together and it just happens to be nighttime, right? It's just a natural thing. So I don't think she's a sexist for feeling that way, and I don't think I'm a racist for looking at an Arab and saying, clearly I know that they're people and that they deserve the same amount to live in the same kind of dignity that you and I do. It's just the twist, I guess, with all this stuff is there is this undeniable tension between Palestinians and Jews, Israeli Jews, and something I'm justifying hatred for each other, but there is a reason to be cautious about that stranger that is a part of your culture.
I didn't mean to in any way suggest that there's no war.
Right.
There's a war.
Right.
We're in a conflict.
Right.
And the war is, of course, it's not against Palestinians. It's against jihadism and against what I call the progressive jihad axis. The progressive jihad axis, which is, the progressive elements in places like Berkeley and the jihadist elements in places like Tehran. They are on the same side to try to erase Israel as a Jewish state in the Middle East.
Yeah.
And the Palestinians, some of them are working with or for those forces, either the progressive forces or the jihadist forces, and the nexus between them.
Yeah.
And there is terror, there is war. Wait, I didn't mean to suggest that Hebron is a non-militarized town. It is a militarized city. You know what I mean? I didn't mean to say that it's not. I just mean to say that with that we have tried very hard to make it normal, and that's what I'm saying. We're trying to compensate and overcome the military tensions. Our military is here in order to create it as an organic and natural place that you could go to.
Okay.
That's why they're here. They're here to push back on those forces and make a dam against those forces so that a guy like you could come in. By the way, I want to tell you that our listeners may not know that the end of that discussion is that you did come to Hebron, and not only that, you sent me at 10 a.m., you sent me a picture of yourself at the Marat HaMachpelah, and with yourself smiling, and I thought to myself, great, Yaakov went in and totally like overcame it and got there and went right into the place, and I was like, good on you.
The thing is that I, like you, probably, that we share a suspicion of what is being fed to us. And I just want to find out this stuff for myself, because I came to the conclusion that I just don't know a lot. And this place, every so often, every year, let's say, there's some convulsion. It's a war, there's some movement in the government that, is trying to get passed. And then this place erupts and discusses like what it is fundamentally. Are we an apartheid state? Are we, as bad as the Nazis? Are we theocrats? Are we this? I'm not saying.
Can we give a few good options out of there?
Right. Okay.
Is that it?
Fine. No. Are we? Well, there's always going to be the negative side, because it's like there's this place is, as you said, in the midst of a war with its neighbors, a war within itself, right? Like it's still trying to define what is this place.
Sure.
For example, I saw your Twitter page is great. I love it. And not so long ago, you tweeted something like, one day you hope that this will be a kingdom of, like a Jewish kingdom that's...
I didn't exactly write that. I wrote it a little bit more tongue-in-cheek in that, but my point was, and there was a few tweets about that, especially the last one, where they were crowning, the British kingdom, the British monarchy, King Charles.
Okay.
And I was just like, good, there's a king. Like, can we think about that? By the way, there was a big monarchical wedding in Jordan just now, right? And nobody bats an eyelash. And so when I suggest to people, well, maybe we could use a king of Israel, and people are like, whoa, and I like to throw it out there to to make people think. And but if you think about it, like we were all excited about the dresses that they're wearing at the daughter of the Jordanian king's wedding.
Yeah,
we're all excited. Everybody's excited that King Charles is getting crowned. But when you talk about King David, why can't that be just as much a reality? It might be. Clearly, the world knows how to deal with that.
So let's go down this road. It's interesting. I've actually thought a lot about the monarchy since Elizabeth died, and I never understood. We're both. I think you're from America, right?
Well, I'm originally from Israel, but I lived in America.
Okay.
From 8 to 17.
So in America, right, the English monarchs, they were the bad guys, right? They were the ones that they were trying to overthrow and then create this amazing story that is America, right? So I have that bias, and I was like, what is the point of these people? Serve absolutely no purpose, right? They don't do anything. They're just...
Well, today's depends where. The King of Morocco does a lot.
No, sorry. I just in
the British monarchy doesn't do much other than own the land, but there are kings that enlightened rulers that do great stuff. Morocco is a really decent country.
Yeah. So
and so is the UAE basically.
So, but in the UK, the monarchy serves as a symbol, right? They're apolitical. They're above the government. And the whole point is to say, look, you wake up in the morning, you're a citizen of the United Kingdom, and the only thing one of the main things that binds you as a people is the fact that there's this family over there that represents you in some sort of harmless way. And you think, big deal, but it actually is a big deal because it's like that narrative thing that binds people together.
Right.
So there's something that everyone can agree on that makes everyone English or part of the UK. How would that even look here? We can't agree on anything.
Well, that's exactly that. You just gave the answer.
Go on. But what would they do?
You just gave your own answer, which is the thing that binds the British people together, which are a desperate lot. What brings them together is this thing that they look at and gives them a narrative unification. So here too, we live in a Jewish state, which is filled with Jews, and Jews are cantankerous and opinionated and strong-willed, and they're not submissive, and one of the things that we need are things that bind us together, a narrative that binds us together.
Yeah.
And that's actually, I think, one of the main problems today in Israel is that, the most basic of all things that bind Jews together, the stories of the Bible, is very weak, weakly unknown in places like Tel Aviv,
right?
Which I think is extremely harmful to our united narrative. King David, which we're not there yet, but that kind of image of the Arabs. You say to them, Daoud,
yeah,
they're like, whoa, they're like, that's a serious guy. Like, they respect the power of King David.
Okay.
And so I'm not going to talk about how exactly it works physically, but I'm telling you that in terms of narrative, just like you said it exactly, which is like, if there was something that, like a kingdom that bound us together, we have 12 tribes, which really means we have many faces, many opinions. Today we have really, major tribal divisions. I like to call them very roughly Jerusalem and Tel Aviv. They actually could work well together. Like, there's no reason for them to be at odds, where in fact they complement each other.
What's more is that they pretty much work well together right now.
Right, I agree with you. Right. I agree with you. There's only one problem right now in Israel. If this one thing could be overcome, we'd be in just better shape, which is just to have plain old mutual respect and love. That's it. Like, it doesn't even need a lot of real changes. I mean, we have, I'll tell you, like, just, we do have some things that need changing. If it's the electoral system that we have, which is very shoddy and no geographic representation. If it's the rules of the courts, the Supreme Court, how it operates. If it's actually our beloved Israel is a more corrupt country than, for example, the United States. It has a lot more endemic socialist, small corruptions, petty tyrants, a lot of barriers to business, a lot of barriers to entry, a lot of unnecessary fluff and taxes, and just basically socialism that was good for its time, but now it's time to kind of come out of that. But for all that, you need something that binds you together. The first thing is the Bible as a book that binds us together with stories. It doesn't have to be a religious book. It could be a book of our themes, of the great peoples, men and women. The great cities that make up the stories of the Bible. For example, if people love the Bible, they would look at Hebron as an integral part of our narrative DNA.
Right.
And they wouldn't even for a second be like it's not important. They'd be like, this is really important.
Right.
So that's that. And King David is just a broader version of that. King David is a broader version of a united commonwealth. Of a Jewish state. That's another problem. People cannot say the word Jewish state. They say Jewish and democratic, which basically undermines the concept of a Jewish state. It doesn't. When you say Jewish and democratic, what you mean is Jewish and everybody else as well, and that's actually harmful to the first simple premise, which is it's a Jewish state. It's a Jewish state, a tribal, regional, a small regional minority, an ethnic group, with minorities living in it.
Right, so that's what I want to ask.
With minorities living in it, but minorities that accept the rules and the premise that this is a Jewish state and accept it and love it, or at least are able to be loyal to it.
Right. So
these things all at the end, the King David is like a King David is a figure. It's a banner. It's like a flag. It's like a flag. So
in your description of the imaginary kingdom of Israel, you didn't.
It's not imaginary. We had two of them, right?
I mean, now in the future,
we have two, right?
The one that replaces the current system, let's say, right?
The current system would evolve, hopefully. I'm very into. I'm not into revolution. I'm not into revolution vis-a-vis Israel. I'm into evolution from here on in.
Yeah.
Sorry about that. Let me turn off the old. There's always people trying to reach me. An important person. I'll call her back in a little bit. Okay. Yeah. Go ahead. Yeah.
You want to say who it is?
No, it's okay. Yeah.
No, but so yes, Jewish state, but
Der Judenstaat. That's what I like to call it. Der Judenstaat. That's just that simple. It's really not so tricky. It's really so simple, around. It's really so simple.
But what happens? What you talked about erasing you mentioned a few minutes ago erasing the Jewish connection to this city.
Sure.
Right? But in the depiction that you said, yes, you acknowledge that there are minorities, but do you not erase a part of their humanity? Like, imagine growing up as an Arab in a Jewish state, and there's a limit to your ambition to what you can do in the country. Is that...
The Arabs, in my perspective, are the overwhelming majority of this region. They live in 22 countries. They have 400 million population. They're a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
And they're really big in this whole region. In this region, it's a Semitic region. There's also another tribe, which are not Arab, are related to Arabs. There's a Semitic tribe, which is called the Jews, the Hebrews, the Israelites. They have a small portion of land which is recognized as theirs, which is their ancestral land. If an Arab wants to live within that small, defended, ethnic minorities, tribal lands, then they have to follow the rules and be loyal citizens of that state, of that Jewish state, which is the tribal land of the Jewish people. Just like we would have to be in their lands. It's really quite simple. It's really very simple. This is a tribal region. This is not America. This is a tribal region, and this is our small, tiny tribal. The right way to call it is it's a reservation or a preserve or a defended enclave.
Yeah.
And it needs to be Jewish because that's what this is just tribal lands. It needs to defend itself as a persecuted minority. There's another great example of a tribe like that, which is called the Kurds. And they exist. Everybody hates them. The Turks, the Syrians, the Iranians, the Iraqis, they all have a problem with the Kurds. So therefore they have their own Kurdish autonomous region of northern Iraq. They are Muslim, by the way, but for some reason people don't like them. The Jews like them, but they have an autonomous region, and nobody, and it's doing real well because it's defended and it's an ethnic minority that's making their life happen. That's what we have to do around here.
So some kind of in your mind, the way you end this is you fix the problems inside that Jewish house, right? So you come to some kind of an agreement between the tribes and say, look, this is the story. And there's room for you, and there's room for your human flourishing. But let's stay inside the bounds of our tradition. And then with the minorities that live within these borders, what do you do with them? You just give them their own...
You don't give them their own anything. It's our land here. It's just that simple. It's our land. But
This
is our land.
What you would call Judea and Samaria, what other people call the West Bank, all of it is Israel.
That's as we say in the Talmud Pshita. That's simple. That's easy.
It's so simple.
It is simple. It really is very simple. And you can see it, by the way. It's a natural geographic border, and it is a historical border, and it's just a sensical border. You can't let Palestine exist on your ancestral land, on the heart of your ancestral land, and also not on the highland that controls the rest of the country. You can't. By the way, an interesting thing. Yeah. Let's say you stand in Neve Daniel, right?
Where's that?
It's right across. It's in Gush Etzion, right across from Efrat.
Okay.
But it overlooks the coastal plain.
Okay.
And maybe on your way back today, you should pop in there because you can see Tel Aviv so clearly. It sits like in the palm of your hand. And you understand, if you have any kind of military sense at all, you can be like, this is so clear that this top area, this mountain area, controls that lowland area. And as a Jewish person, you're like, oh, I'm here in the mountains and there's Tel Aviv below me. We are related. Ironically, if you're in Tel Aviv and you turn around and you see in the distance those mountains, they look very far away. You're like, those mountains, I don't know what's over there, and I'm safe here in my little ghetto, and over there, I don't know, the Arabs and who knows what, and just let's cut it away. And when you're standing here, you're like, no, we're like, there it is right there, it's in the palm of my hand. And when you turn around from Tel Aviv, you're like, it's far away, and let's just cut it away. So I think sometimes even the visual has an impact on the way we think about these things. When it comes to Palestinians, we have zero problem, and the Torah has zero problem with minorities that accept and are loyal and accept our sovereignty and want to live here and live here with respect, which is what Arabs look for, with kavod, with honor, and with upward mobility. but that has to be a non-jihadist contract. We cannot have jihadism in this land. It's just so simple.
Yeah.
And so, but if you ask me point blank, you say to me, Yishai, do you believe in Palestinian national self-determination on this land? I say, no, I do not 100%. I am against, with no confusion, against the claim of national self-determination for Palestinians on this Jewish Judean land. I'm against that 100%. Moreover, even pragmatically speaking, I see that it has always led to war. It has never led to peace, this land give away business. It's a mistake. It's not the way of this region. It's not the way of this region. I have many stories to illustrate that. But the bottom line is, we want to live in an Arab city that respects the Jewish state, no problem. You want to have a Chinatown, if you will, here in Hebron, and have your own, Arab governor, etc., and have freedom of movement and freedom of occupation. You can do, work at whatever you want, freedom of religion, fine.
Yeah.
But it's got to be a non-jihadist contract. There should be zero tolerance for jihadism in our land, and this place should be the Jewish state, even if this is Chinatown of Arabs, which is fine, which is great, which is beautiful, because we are cousins, and this is we're in the Abrahamic region. It's all good.
Right.
But if you deny my right to this land, if you want to fight for it, if you want to call this land Palestine, if you want to sell maps that show the state of Israel and instead it has the word Palestine on it, which is what is sold around here, then you are an enemy, you are seditious, and you should be dealt with as that.
So, embedded in your that story about looking at the mountaintop and then you see the rest of the nice bubble that is the economic heartland of the country, is this,
which I don't resent. I'm very proud of. I just want to say, Tel Aviv is me. I'm Tel Aviv. Like I'm not.
Right. No, what you're saying is that the other side is delusional, thinking that you are not them.
Correct.
Right. That you're actually a pain in the ass, and you are right. But embedded in your thinking, there is this notion that, like, the eternal predicament of the Jew, which is, we just are just constantly being hated against for the last several thousand years.
When you're a religious person, you understand that much better.
Right, right.
When you're a secular person, you're just like, why?
Right.
And then you come up with failed theories about how to avert anti-Semitism.
Right.
When you're a religious person, you're like, I know what this is about. I know where it's coming from, and I know how to avert it in the long run.
Right.
But like, you're just gonna have to stand up to it. You're just gonna have to hold the line. And you're just gonna have to be tough, and don't give away stuff, and don't be weak, and don't suck up to the bad guys.
Right.
And it's like it's easier to be more nationalistic, more masculine in your thinking when you come from a religious perspective.
The question is, okay, so let's go completely radical here and say, why even stand up for the tradition to begin with? Like,
Judaism?
If Jews are always going to be in this state where there's always someone that's jealous, resentful, bitter, hating us.
Right.
Whenever there's a bad economic thing, there's somewhere, some country, some Jew. There's a rise in Jew hatred, violence against Jews. It's just perpetual.
Right.
So why not just toss the whole thing aside and say, okay, you know what? Let's just leave the world. Let the world be without the Jews.
Well, Gandhi, one of his ideas was for the Jews to commit mass suicide in protest of the Nazis. That was an idea that he put out there, and Herzl had that thinking as well when he originally, and through his process of thinking deeply about the Jewish question, one of his first suggestions was mass conversion to Christianity, was to end the problem, and there is a logic there. There's a logic there.
Yeah.
It's just not going to work, not going to happen. But there is a logic there to say, like, let's end it.
But the question is why? Why wouldn't we just end the project?
Well, the first answer is because we're not going to. That's the first answer. Before we even like get to
I know.
The simple answer is we're not going to, and because we are proud of our identity, and because we're a godly people, and because we're people that are trying to bring a light of God and knowledge and thought into this world and morality, and we have a mission. We have a national mission, and we're excited about our national mission, and it's still vivacious within us, and
Yeah.
we're psyched about it.
Right.
And we're psyched, and we've always been psyched. We're a people of life. That's why we wear chai necklaces. Chai, that's like an integral part of what the Jew is. It's like alive.
Yeah.
This very interview is that. It's like there's an incredible electric energy in our peoplehood, and in our land, and the rebirth of our land. It's just an incredible. We have a life force because we reflect the ultimate life force, which is God. He is the real life force of this world. He is the vivifier of all things at every moment and every day. So, and we are a reflection of that. And so, and by the way, that's exactly what anti-Semitism is. It's a hate on that. It's a jealousy.
Right.
It's a hate on that.
Right.
But there's nothing to do.
Right.
There's nothing to do about it.
Right.
You guys gotta look past the haters, and there are tons of lovers and people who want to reflect that light and feel it, and they want that energy in their life. They want to be blessed by it, and they want to bless Israel. They want to get blessings back. There's tons of people like that in the world.
Do you know? Have you ever heard of Jordan Peterson?
Sure.
Okay, great. So he has this thing.
I don't live in a cave here. Yeah.
They do live
Plus,
close
don't forget that
close
I also am part of the conservative world. So people like Ben Shapiro are my friends.
Okay.
And people, you know what I mean. That's like I'm like, you know what I mean. Although I am on the Israeli side of things, like those are part of my natural allies in this world.
Sure.
When so these people are my colleagues.
So Jordan Peterson has this.
I'd like to think.
He has these lectures about the Bible, right? And
Sure.
one of them, which I find fascinating, is his take on Cain and Abel, right? The hostile brothers, right? So there's Abel, who has the better sacrifices, and God basically smiles upon him because he's doing great in life because he's doing things the right way. Cain is not doing; he's giving it a half-assed effort and gets resentful, and he says, "What kind of a God creates the universe where I don't get rewarded, even though he's not putting in his best effort?" And this guy over here is, right? And he kills Abel, right?
His brother.
And it's his brother, right? And those are the first two people, and then that's
Right. First people born. These are the first people born. Right. The first person to be born in the world is the first person to murder.
right. Yeah, exactly. And then that's
ouch. That's an ouch.
And from those two we descend, all of humanity, right? So it's like there's this message that the way he interprets is that there's this message within that story that's fundamental to human existence, right? That the hostile brothers, the people who are resentful of those who do well. And it's actually kind of interesting, scary, perhaps even accurate to look at the tale of those two national movements, the Zionist Jewish national movement and the Palestinian movement, as one of incredible success and total failure, right? The Palestinian movement, it's just defeat and setback after setback after setback, whereas the Jews, they have this incredible return to Israel, which is, it's unprecedented, it's miraculous, it's incredible after 2,000 years. And also, if you think about the odds against this project, they were astronomical, right? And they pull it off, and they succeed. And in Benny Morris's book, I think it's 1948, he ends up the reason he thinks the Jews won is because their backs were against the wall, and they wanted more, meaning that their sacrifices were much higher quality than the Palestinians, who many of them fled, thinking that the other Arabs, the Iraqis, the Egyptians, the Syrians, and so on and so forth, would come and clean out, and they could come back to their country and say, here, you see. So, and then it just continues, right? I mean, look at the GDP per capita. Now, I get it that we're not on the same playing field, but just...
Why not?
Well...
The Arabs know how to be rich.
No, of course, no. That wasn't my... No, that's not... Look, there is a military occupation. We'll argue about that in a second, but in the Judea and Samaria, the West Bank, whatever you want to call it, and then Gaza, it's being blockaded by Israel, and then partial entry with Egypt, And on top of that, they have shitty governments who just don't, instead of...
Jihadists, corrupt.
Yeah, exactly.
And
this isn't just us two Jews
I think
talking.
that Yasser Arafat died with $200 million in his bank account.
Yeah, look, this isn't us two Jews talking. If you look at polls, even of Palestinians, they're super dissatisfied with their leaders, and they think they're super corrupt. So, But it's so I find that fascinating, that parallel between the resentful and those that strive to do well, which is what we were talking about, the spirit of Judaism. And I don't really know what to do with that, because is that an indictment on Palestinian nationalism? Is that an indictment on something else? Like what?
Palestinian nationalism is a fraud. There is no Palestinian nationalism. It's a created narrative that has been created in the last 50 years. It doesn't exist. There was never a Palestine here. We had two kingdoms here. We had two, 2,000 years ago and 3,000 years ago, and we had an endless connection to this land. The Palestinians are people that are basically a hodgepodge of Arabs and others that came in through different periods. Remember that after the Second Temple period, the land was taken over by the Byzantines. From the Byzantines, it went to the first Arab conquest. Some Arabs came there. Then they were kicked out by the Crusaders. The Crusaders were here for 100-something years, 200 years, and then came the Mamluks. The Mamluks were replaced by the Turks, by the Ottoman Turks. The Turks ruled for a long time. They were kicked out by the British. British were replaced by Jordanians, and then we came back. So it's not like there's been a Palestinian thing. There's no Palestinian thing. And on top of that, the Arabs that lived here were mostly part of other empires, and it was never like a local, it was always a region that was ruled by different empires. There was never a call for national identity here. What happened was that when Israel started coming back, many more Arabs started coming because they saw there was an economic opportunity here. And then there was some people like Hajj Amin al-Husseini who were incredibly violent against Arabs. And
What do you mean against Arabs?
Palestinian nationalism has always been a machine that kills off the liberal Arabs. It always gets rid of Arabs who are like, these Jews are our cousins. They have a Jewish state. We can live in it and thrive, and that's okay. And even Islam can swallow it. Those people get killed off here in Hebron all the time.
Even Islam can swallow a Jewish state? How do you figure that?
There are different like the Kurds or the Sufis, and there's different versions in Islam that are chiller. that just have a more chill attitude towards things.
Okay.
It doesn't have to be like a very intense form. And Islam has 4 verses in the Quran that seem to indicate that the Jews belong in this land. And on top of that, I tell Arabs all the time, I'm like, the only reason you didn't defeat us here is because this is our land. God has given us this land. Allah has given us this land, and therefore you win everywhere else, but you don't win here because this is God has given this to us, and they respect that kind of language, And basically, Palestinian nationalism is 2 things. On the one hand, it is a failure in the sense that it does not create a great life for anybody, and it is in its very essence, it's fraudulent and warlike in its internal guts. It's there to replace Israel. It's a replacement battle. It's really an incursion of other tribes into our tribal lands. It's really the way to see it. And that's the simple way to see it.
You really think that?
That's exactly how I see it. I see it as this is our tribal lands, and there's an incursion of movement of tribes to try to take over our land. But I would disagree with you, though, in part that it's not been so successful. Like in my mind. In my mind, the liberal jihad axis, not axis, but AXIS, has been successful. We have lost the Sinai, which has made us strategically much weaker. Later on, because of that, we lost the Gaza Strip. We left Lebanon, in the middle of the night type of thing. In Judea and Samaria, we've given away so-called areas A and B to the corrupt and jihadist Palestinian Authority, which is now being inherited by Hamas. Parts of our Jerusalem, of our holy city, are in the hands of these jihadist forces. The city of Shechem and the tomb of Joseph are in their hands. The city of Bethlehem, which is where King David was born, where Rachel is buried, where the book of Ruth took place, is basically in their hands. And the tomb of Rachel is the surrounded compound, defended compound. Hebron is under fire all the time. So, I wouldn't say it's such a failure. And there's all this international recognition. So I'm not as. Let's put it this way: I would be more confident if I thought that Palestinian nationalism was a big failure. But I'm not. I see them as actually eroding our national consciousness successfully, and I see them as holding on to land, not theirs, but the land that they've successfully, stolen away from us, and with different forces. Some forces through peace, through the Oslo Accords, so-called peace. Some forces through a land grab, like in the Negev. Some forces through mafia-style actions, like in the businesses that have to pay protection rackets in the north and the south. So,
What are you talking about?
Do you know about the protection racket scourge that fills the Negev? Have you spoken to a Negev businessman?
No.
They all pay 2,000 shekel a month to protection rackets. There's been many articles in the paper. The Bedouins have basically taken the Negev, made it into a grid, and decided which tribe controls which areas. And everybody in the whole Negev and in the north, the Galil, pays protection rackets.
Jew and Arab alike?
No, Jewish businesses. The Arabs, I don't know what, but the Jews pay protection rackets to Bedouins, who are also taking over land, as well known, well documented. Yeah, there's a real serious problem. Did you notice, not this past May, but the May previous, what happened to the mixed Jewish Arab cities like Ramla, Lod, Akko?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We have a growing jihadism in our land. We have Israeli Arabs are identifying as Palestinians, i.e. the replacement theology, the replacement narrative of our land.
Mm-hmm.
So I wouldn't be so flippant as you. I don't see the situation at all that we are this like victorious, economically successful thing, and they're this like pathetic thing that has never worked. Like, I don't see that at all. I actually see an erosion of our land, erosion of our narrative, and an erosion of our and illegal weapons. I see things a little bit more darkly. I see 150,000 rockets in the hands of Hezbollah, X number of rockets in the hands of Hamas in Gaza, a nuclear bomb being developed in Iran, and Israeli Arabs / Palestinians, ready for conflict. So, yeah, I don't see it so beautifully right now.
No, we agree on that. You just tossed everything into the
That's the way I see the strategic picture of Israel.
The Israeli problems salad, right? The Iran this and Lebanon that, and yeah.
Well, it's all part of the same, and it's all the fault of the same way of thinking, which is not understanding the rules of the Middle East, the rules of engagement in the Middle East, and how to deal with enemies. You don't give away your land. If they attacked you from the Sinai and you got the Sinai, you hold on to the Sinai. You need it for your strategic steps. It wasn't Egyptian anyway. You hold on to it. If they attack you and you need those straits, you need to control those water lanes. If Judea and Samaria, this is your ancestral homeland. How are you nutty to give away your land to terrorists who literally terrorized you and now got the land to continue to terrorize you?
The peace treaty with Egypt was a bad idea in your opinion?
Worst idea.
No.
The original sin. The original sin.
Wow.
The original sin was the so-called peace treaty with Egypt. The original sin. That's where the sin begins.
Really?
You kick out Jews out of their Jewish towns. You give back land for a promise. Even Sadat said about Begin, he's like, poor Menachem. He gave away something for nothing, basically. You know what I mean? And then, of course, he was gone very soon afterwards. The Sinai was not Egyptian in the first place. The people that live in the Sinai are not Egyptian; they're Bedouins. Okay, they don't like Egypt. The Sinai is a natural border from Africa. It's a natural extension of the Negev desert, and they attacked us through the Sinai. Too bad, so sad. You lose, and we can't have you come again at us, and we need to control that. And you control that, then you can control Gaza, and you don't allow Gaza to get all these rockets and things through. You're a big, badass Jewish state in the Middle East, showing people that you do not mess with the Jews post-Holocaust. It's over. This is the way it is. We speak Arabic around here. You understand? We don't speak Ashkenazi. We speak Arabic. We understand the rules of engagement in this region. And you're going to talk about my capital? You're going to talk about dividing my capital? No way. Okay? We're not gonna. Homie, don't play that. Okay? We do not do that. And that's of course the way to gain respect. And then when Saudi Arabia turns to you and says, you know what, protect me from Iran, then you go, yeah, absolutely, I'm going to be the regional umbrella around here, the defense umbrella, and that's what you play big. But Israel, sadly, is constantly going into ghetto-ness. We're a small, good country, we're good people, we just want peace. We'll do things for peace, we'll give away land for peace, we'll give away our water to Jordan, we'll give away things all the time, and we just want to look the other way, let's be peaceful because we're like good people. I promise you we're good people. It's a pathetic Ghetto Jew is the Ghetto Jew. I want to write this article just called "The Ghetto Jew is Back." Okay, the Ghetto Jew is back. He's back, and the Ghetto Jew is just not a Middle Easterner. He just does not understand how to work in the Middle East. He does not understand what people respect around here. He doesn't understand or like Arabs. He doesn't get it. I like and respect Arabs. That's why I'm willing to put down the law, because I know the way it works around here, and I have no problem with it.
I voted for Likud in the last 2 elections, and so I live in Tel Aviv, and you can imagine that none of my friends did the same. And when
I imagine that some.
My friends didn't, right? And they all looked at me like I was insane. And, they brought up all the usual stuff, which are super valid. The corruption, the partnering with the Haredim and all that kind of stuff, which I don't deny. But it's like, why did I vote for that? At first it was like you have to be pragmatic about these things. Like, there's no perfect party, candidate, whatever. Politics is, if you're looking for love in politics, forget it, right?
Definitely.
And it was a choice. It was a choice between Likud and their camps versus what seemed to me empty suits, on the other side. Now, I had no idea that Naftali Bennett, who I like him. I didn't know that he was going to come in and sort of do the thing that he did. But anyway, I was thinking about it more. Like, why did I vote Likud? And I think it has to do with this understanding of the Jew and his and her place in history, which I think that, as you say, right, this Ghetto Jew mentality that if only we're nice, and if only we play with the nice people who are motivated by so-called compassion. If we just play nice with left-wing politics, then the world will accept us and everything will be fine. And that on the other side of that, on the other side of the table, you have the people who say, it really doesn't work that way. And we have learned time after time after time after time that there's something about the world and the Jew and the relationship there that we need to defend ourselves against the potential that is real. And to just be careless or reckless about, or even ignoring that history, is dangerous and delusional. And I think that is where I think I landed, right? There's this pollster, Mitch Barak, I don't know if you right? And he says people who vote right wing identify themselves more as a Jew versus people who vote left wing or Israeli, right? That they think that.
Amit Segal says that the exact same thing. He says if you want to know how people vote, just ask them one question: are you more Jewish or more Israeli?
Right. Which is a strange question, to be honest.
I mean, if the sense behind it is clear, which is that are you more given towards a historical identity that has something to do with the peoplehood and the religion and the history, or are you given more to the state's laws and to the modern construct of the state of Israel? Which one are you more of a patriot to? What are you more patriotic to? Are you more patriotic to the synagogue or to the Supreme Court?
But that's the thing.
But I actually don't like that for a different reason. I have a problem with that for a different reason, because I don't like the idea that the word Israel is relegated below Jewish. I don't like that. For me,
right,
the uber identity of a Jewish person living in the land of Israel is the great name, the super name of the Jewish people, which is Israel. So I am a very proud Israeli, because the word Israel is a much higher name to me. Yeah. It's really like, I think of Yaakov or Jewish as like Clark Kent. And then you rip it off and you're like Israel, that's our super name. So I to me, even though I understand the sense behind that, if you ask me, are you more Jewish or more Israeli? I say Israeli, of course. Israeli is the better name. It's the higher level name than the name Jewish. On the other hand, what they mean in that question is what people understand simply, which is what's more important to you, Yiddishkeit. It's a great Yiddish word, which is Judaism, but Yiddishkeit, the practice of Judaism, which is so old, and or the modern construct of the Jewish state, or the modern construct of Israel as a state.
But that's where I get lost, because I have this argument with friends as well, is that I'm not really sure I see the difference, more or less like you do, where it's like, I live in Tel Aviv, and Friday nights the streets are always packed, and then Friday evening the sun sets, and you don't see any cars or barely any cars, and on the sidewalks you see people either going to synagogue or going to a Shabbat
Baruch
dinner.
Hashem. Thank God.
So
I mean, it's
and the question is,
that's good. So it's wonderful to hear that.
But
that's what it should be.
In this supposedly secular, godless city.
I never said those words.
No,
I don't accept those words.
I know you didn't.
I don't accept the premise that Tel Aviv is godless. I don't accept that premise at all. Secular, it is more secular.
Yeah.
But it is a Jewish and vibrant and Hebrew city, and it has it's a lovely, alive, amazing city, and it's our city, and it is our capital culturally and economically. So I don't. How should I say? I don't easily, reduce it.
No, I know, but in this question of are you Israeli or are you Jewish? If ever there was a person to say I'm Israeli, you would say most likely they live in Tel Aviv, right?
Sure.
Right. And that person, without even thinking about it, I think, is going to their family's house on Friday night or whatever, right? That they're observing something about their own Jewish identity, and they do it week after week after week after week after week. So they're embodying something that's, is it Israeli or is it Jewish? What is it?
Well, it's a question. You're right, but the question is kind of like where's the mishkal? Like where's the weight? Where do you put more of the weight? And that's the essence of that question, which is if you had to put your thumb on the scale, which side would it be on?
Right.
That's really the question. But your point is well accepted by me and well heard by me.
No, because I think
you're right. And thank God.
Yeah.
I'm happy about what you're saying because that is good. That's a good thing. That's a good thing. There is Judaism in Israel. Like Israel is the Jewish state, and in Tel Aviv there's Judaism. That's to me a joy. It's heartwarming to hear that, and that's what I want. What I want is actually very simple, really. It's a more Jewishly identified Jewish state, proud and strong in its land, knowing, protecting its borders, having minorities that are loyal, in law abiding, living inside of it, and a strong Jewish state is surrounded by strong Arab countries working together for a better Middle East, I don't even like the word Middle East anymore. I have a new term for it. I just call it the Abrahamic region, because Middle East is a Western construct. So, they're looking from the West to the East, so they're like the Middle East. I like to call it the Abrahamic region. I want to give it a more, and it's a very proper term because really people here think themselves as the children of Abraham and follow the religion of Abraham. So I just call the whole region the Abrahamic region basically from North Africa to the Persian Gulf. So that's and a little bit beyond. So that's it's good to hear that the Jewish people, like you're describing, are indeed feeling themselves to be Jewish. It's good. So that's wonderful, and I think Tel Aviv has a lot of spirituality in it.
Yeah, man.
It's a searching city. It's a city with tons of smart, yearning Jews.
There was
Israelis.
I don't know if you remember this. A few months ago, there was a terrorist attack on Dizengoff,
sure.
one of the main streets, and this young guy got killed. And that
he was like a triathlete and stuff.
Yeah, exactly. And that Shabbat, several of the synagogues in the neighborhood all left the synagogue, walked to the place where he was killed, and had a service together.
Yeah.
And it just stopped. It stopped the whole street, and there was cameras and people like it. It's like. Yeah,
I love Tel Aviv. I only wish I knew it better.
So come, man.
I do. I try to make it out there.
When you're in a run, come hit me up.
I like Tel Aviv. I think Tel Aviv is great. I think it's got great energy, and I resent, and I tell people, everybody wants to. People need comfort, so they like, and they need justification, so they relegate themselves to their tribe and their area, and they say I'm this but not that.
Yeah.
It's a ghetto thought,
Okay.
And so I try to tell people like here, I try to say, look, Tel Aviv is us, and we're Tel Aviv, and the same thing should be said in Tel Aviv about Hebron. Like, it's our city. It's where we're.
So educate me about Hebron. I mean, tell me how you view this place.
This is a place that has. כן. אם הוא לא שם, הוא לא אצלי. Hebron is a place that has 4,000 years of human habitation, and 3,800 years ago, 4,500 years. 4,500 years of human habitation. 4,500 years, just like, process that. 3,800 years ago, Abraham shows up in town.
Is that confirmed? Do we know that to be true?
Of course, we know that to be true. What's the question?
No, really.
We know that there was we have found many remains of the ancient city here, 4,500 years old. We have 4,000-year-old walls that could take you. We have archaeology. Archaeology confirms the Bible. That's just a simple thing. If you need confirmation, archaeology confirms the Bible.
I thought there was no archaeological evidence, for example, of the exodus from Egypt. And
there's some things that are a little bit more tricky. It depends. It also depends on, for example, there's the famous Amarna letters that these rulers in that were living in Israel, in the land of Israel, were writing back to Egypt. Hey, there's these Habiru, which is Hebrew people coming, and they want to come in and they're going to destroy us. Blah. There's all kinds of evidence, but it depends how you want to see the preponderance of the evidence.
Okay.
With regards to Hebron being an ancient city, that's not, and there's no doubt of that.
Okay.
The fact that it's a Jewish city both 3,000 years ago and 2,000 years ago, there's no doubt of that.
Mm-hmm.
Those are archaeological facts that nobody denies.
Okay.
There's no denial of that. We have 2,000-year-old mikvaot here. We have
really?
Of course.
Wow.
Of course, we have buildings that are known to be Hezekiah-style buildings right after King David. We have that. We have found seals that say to the king in Hebron. These are 2,000-year-old seals in Hebrew. It's from the Hezekiah period. Yeah. So, those are 3,000-year-old seals that say to the king in Hebron. Which in Hebrew in the old script.
That's wild.
We have all the stuff. There's no doubt. There's no doubt. Abraham per se, we don't have any archaeological evidence, but we have one of the most amazing archaeological evidences of them all, which is the Tomb of the Patriarchs and Matriarchs, a 2,000-year-old building, which Josephus tells us was built by Herod on top of the tombs of the Patriarchs and Matriarchs, the founders of the people.
And do we know?
And no religion, neither Judaism, Islam, or Christianity denies that. Nobody denies that. Abraham and Sarah, Isaac and Rebekah, Jacob and Leah, Jacob being Israel, are buried here in Hebron.
But do we have any sort of scientific evidence of?
We have a scientific evidence of a 2,000-year-old building.
They died 2,000 years before.
Before that, that's right. And there's tombs underneath there, which my colleague Noam Arnone has been down and saw the entrance of. It's a very famous story. You can see it on YouTube if you want to see more about it. It's
I read on the.
It's called Secrets. I made a video called Secrets of the Machpelah.
Okay.
And you can see it on YouTube, and it's a great video. And he tells the whole story about going down there.
That's the one because I think I read a little summary of what that was, right? That who was it? Moshe Dayan. He wanted to excavate the site. He sent some 17-year-old girl down there.
12-year-old girl.
12-year-old.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
That was the first, and then there was subsequent serious excavation. But the point is that.
But what did they find down there?
They found down there the entrance to the second cave. They found that the building that we know as the Tomb of the Patriarchs and Matriarchs has a labyrinth system inside, which leads you to a cave complex below, which leads you to a double cave, which is already marked from ancient times as the Tomb of Abraham. There's markers down there that have that written down, and beyond that, they didn't go into the tombs themselves. Nobody has done that. Okay.
Why not? How come?
Well, because the Arabs are afraid of archaeology, and also because there's just a lot of, religious fear around going down there. It's a mysterious and powerful place. According to Judaism, it's called the entrance to the Garden of Eden.
Oh wow!
And according to Jewish tradition, Adam and Eve are also buried here, and this place has been a place of for example, when the Jewish people exited, did the exodus from Egypt, and they come to the edge of the land, they send spies. One spy, Caleb ben Yefuneh, comes to Hebron, and there's tons of writings about that, about how he came and he prayed at the Tomb of the Patriarchs and Matriarchs, and basically,
right.
And then later on, because he was one of the spies that said positive reports that he inherited this land, it became later a Levitical city as well. And so it's very, very storied in the book of Samuel, beginning of book of Samuel 2. King David takes up residence here in Hebron for 7 years before he moves to Jerusalem.
Did that mean that this was the capital of the Jewish kingdom?
This was the capital of Judah, of the tribe of Judah.
Okay.
And for a few minutes there, all the Jewish people came and they crowned King David king over all of Israel in Hebron. He received here.
Okay.
He was crowned king of all of Israel.
Yeah.
Then he moves to Jerusalem soon afterwards. So for a minute there, this was the capital of all of Israel, but it was where King David started his monarchy. And then he moves to Jerusalem to unite, because this was the capital of the tribe of Judah. He wanted a place that was neutral between Judah and Benjamin, where the temple would stand. So the point is that this place is highly storied.
And Jews have been living in Hebron this entire
Basically, with small stops, but basically with no stops, straight for the last 3,000 years plus. Like, and then they call us occupiers here. It's like, what a joke.
Well,
You know what I mean? We're the indigenous peoples of this place. We were here way before Islam, came around.
right.
It's just one of the modern, it's just one of the modern kind of tricks. But like it doesn't even matter what other people say. We ourselves feel that this is a deep part of our DNA, deep part of our narrative, our people's DNA, our textual DNA. This is where we're from.
Yeah.
This is where we find texts. We find these pieces that say that the King of Israel. We find these. We're deeply rooted in this place. And so
what do you do though when Wikipedia says a Palestinian city with 200,000 residents, Palestinian residents, and a couple hundred Israeli Jewish people?
that's what happens when you
Do you
sign the Hebron Accords and give away the control of this town, 80% of it, to the Palestinian Authority, which turns immediately jihadist. When you give Yasser Arafat Hebron and the tomb of the patriarchs and matriarchs, then don't be surprised that Wikipedia is going to write that. When you yourself verify that contra narrative, then you're going to, eat crap for a long time. Okay, that's what happens. That's what happens when you make stupid mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
When you give away Gaza, and we told you you're going to give away Gaza, you're going to get jihadist wars. You make stupid mistakes. You're going to have to live with generations, and you burden your children with these situations. And yeah, Hebron. So what we try to do is we try to bring people in and educate them and build as much as we can. But with our ambivalent government and the sick mistake that was the Hebron Accords, which is part of the Oslo Accords. Yes, you make mistakes, you pay for them.
Yeah.
You get into a motorcycle accident, it's going to take you a long time to get back to walking normally, because that's what happens. That's the way it is. You make bad national decisions. You pay for it for generations. That's what it is. And that's why in Wikipedia, and then Yishai Fleisher, by the way, if you look up my Wikipedia page, it will tell you, for more information, click on Baruch Goldstein. It's like, Baruch Goldstein that murdered 29 worshippers here, that is a wiki trick, you know what I mean, to try to paint me into that. And by the way, I want to show you something here. Let me open up my Twitter feed.
And you use the word murder also, which is interesting.
Well, that's what happened.
Right.
If you go to my Twitter feed,
Yeah.
and you go to what I wrote about, I had a birthday just now, and
Happy birthday.
I just had a birthday, and I went cherry picking with my wife, and I put up this nice post of myself and my wife cherry picking. If you go to that post, you will see the amazing amount of vitriol and hate that I face every single day for things like this. And basically the responses are: you're an occupier, you're a thief, you're a colonialist, you're an apartheidist,
Right.
This is not your land to pick the cherries on. And that is a narrative that we've allowed to grow when we have taught everybody that we're willing to give away our land to the so-called real owners of the land. We're teaching them that, and then of course they're going to continue to chase. When you give them an inch, they continue to chase you until the very end. Their goal, by the way, is there a two-state solution map that's put out by the Palestinian Authority? Absolutely not. There's only one map, which is all of Israel is called Palestine. It's just that simple. So if you're not willing to look things in the face, and you don't understand the anti-Semitism that this brings upon, so then you're gonna have failures for generations. And my solution is simple: a strong Israel, strong Jewish Israel that loves its narrative, surrounded by strong Arab countries working together for a stronger Abrahamic region. Simple.
What and that includes what the entire
certainly includes the entire so-called West Bank. That's pshita, as we say. It's simple.
And Gaza.
Gaza is you made a horrible mistake. We went into Gaza in order to the left, the Israeli Labor Party, went into Gaza in order to quell terror, to create and to cut Gaza up into five fingers. So you make the mistake of pulling your communities out and empowering the Arabs. There were saying to me, "Don't do it. You don't understand who's going to take over here." So you empower the jihad. You tell the jihad, "Look, with a little bit of cleverness, you will inherit the Jewish land. All you have to do is be patient and clever. The Jews will fold." And then you create a forward base for jihadism. And then on the podcast you're like, "Well, what about Gaza?" Well, that's what happens when you make stupid mistakes. Now it's going to cost. How to solve that problem? It's not simple. I don't know how to solve it exactly. Now, the right thing to do, of course, is to hold on to this piece of land and to evict the jihadists. That's the right thing to do. Minimally, get rid of all the rockets. That's the basic minimum. How do you deal with that now? As we say in Yiddish, nish pashut. It's not lo pashut, not simple.
Yeah.
Because you made a bad mistake. You pay for it for generations. Our children will pay for it.
Do you think that I think about this, not now that I have kids, but do you think that we're destined to have this role in history forever as Jews?
Which role?
The ones who strive to do good, right, in the world. Tikkun olam, trying to fear of God is the beginning of wisdom, right? Which is essentially, in other words, act right, or otherwise bad shit's going to happen to you, right? So living responsibly, like having this kind of ethos, and yet other people resent you for it and hate you for it when things go really wrong.
Yaakov, I want to tell you something. I travel the world. I just came back from a trip.
From
the United States. I was in Sacramento and San Francisco, and I was in Cleveland, and I was in New York.
Oh.
I don't think that the world hates me. Okay. There are parts of the world that hates us. There's a lot of people, millions, that absolutely think Israel's a light, believe in the prophecies of the Bible, see Israel as a strength against jihadism. There's various ways to love Israel, various things that bring you closer. There's tons of people that are connected to us, tons. And I'm not one of these Jews who thinks that the world hates us. We have a jihadist problem. We have, as I said, the progressive jihad axis. Fight with them. Fight them. Fight them. Fight them and defeat them.
Okay.
That's okay. It's okay. Don't be a ghetto Jew. It's okay to defeat your enemies. Ghetto Jews can't defeat enemies because the enemies are so much bigger and stronger. We don't have the power to do it. That's a ghetto Jew thinking. A Zionist Jew, a reborn Jew in the land of Israel, an embodied Jew, has the power. God has given him the strength and her the strength to defeat the enemies. Go for it. Be merciless to the merciless. And to the good guys, be the light that you can be. If it's everything from morality to science to whatever Israel does, we do all kinds of stuff. We do all kinds of whatever it is that we're doing out there. Put it out there, but put it out there from a place of safety, in the sense of control of our land, and help the world get on an even keel, help it get straight, right, and don't be a force of just a reactionary force. Be a leader. Be a leader around here. Crush the bad guys. Create an Abraham Accords around here. Show people that we mean business around here, and we're going to strain things out. There's going to be tourism. There's going to be a train. The train's going to go. The Euro rail stops at Istanbul, and from Istanbul, it's going to go down, and it's going to go down through Aleppo and Damascus, and then through Beirut, and then I'm going to go, through the Jezreel Valley and up the mountain range, through Shechem and through Beit El and up to Jerusalem, and then it'll go off to Tel Aviv, and then from Tel Aviv to Alexandria, to Cairo and Alexandria, and it'll go through Sharm el Sheikh, and it'll go to Riyadh, first to Amman, which is an ancient city, in Riyadh, and then to the Persian Gulf. And we can have a region which is Abrahamic, which is beautiful, which is strong, which is a touristic attraction, which has natural resources, which has the Abrahamic feelings and beautiful places. Baghdad, bring these places back to life. Since the Arabs started hating on the Jews, all their cities have been destroyed. Right, and the ones that don't hate the Jews, their cities are flourishing. Why would you want that curse upon yourself? Let's bring a blessing back to this region.
Right.
Let's have economics. Let's have tourism. Let's have education. Let's have medicine. Israel should be the heart of medicine in this region.
That's a really nice distillation of the problem with the Palestinians. If Hamas spent more time actually building economic infrastructure,
you cannot build an economic infrastructure on somebody else's land. Their initial impetus is wrong. It cannot be right.
Right.
It's from the get-go not right. If Hamas wanted to build something, let them build Egypt, okay? But they're not builders. They're jihadists, which is almost by nature destroyers.
That's the Cain and Abel thing, right?
They're destroyers. They're not builders. They're just not builders. Jews are builders, and there are many forces around here that want to be builders. Let's. But the only way to do this is through strength, not through Woody Allen, Ghetto Jew. A little bit of the. You got to be good, and that's the thing. Clarity is what brings health around here.
Yeah.
Clarity is what people need. Not like maybe like this, but maybe like this. Bring clarity. We're a Jewish state of Israel. The Bible is part of our DNA. We love our cities. We love our people. We have different tribes. They're all beautiful. We're going to work together towards. First thing is safety, then Jewish culture. Let's make ties with Arabs that are tired of war, that realize that there's no war against us. There's no point in that.
Right.
And let's move towards the Abraham Accords. By the way, the name Abraham Accords itself is a victory. Itself is a victory. Just the name. Just the name. Because instead of calling it some kind of regional accords, it's like what brings us together, what makes us ancient peoples here. It's Abraham, and that's the beautiful. If you read if you read Sledgehammer by David Friedman, so who came up with this? Like a half an hour before the signing,
he did.
A 2-star general, a Puerto Rican 2-star general runs in and is like, hey, we need a name for this thing.
Right, yeah.
And Trump was like, should we call it the Trump Accords? and he's like, well, I was thinking the Abraham Accords. and it's like
we were half an hour away from the Trump Accords.
Right. There's something so beautiful about that. So getting back to these principles, Middle East principles, biblical principles, that's the way of health. The rest of the stuff will not bring us to health. It will just bring to endless conflict. And something that I've been thinking about recently, which is we will therefore be passing it on to our children to deal with these problems. And I don't accept that. That's wrong. That's wrong to pass the buck. It's wrong to pass the buck to our children to deal with Gaza and to deal with these things, to deal with Hamas's rockets. I mean, to say, when I pass away, if there's still 150,000 rockets, my kids are going to have to face that at some point.
Yeah.
And they'll have to make a choice. Do they want to stay in Israel under this threat or not? I don't want them to have to make that choice.
Is that what motivates you to do what you do?
Not exactly. What motivates me is I think a sense of having an opportunity to understanding the greatness of this moment and having an opportunity to impact it just a tad. That's what motivates me.
Amazing, man. I think let's end it here, but I'd love to do this again because there's only things I'd still love to ask you about. Like,
you are always welcome here. The mothers and the fathers are gonna love seeing you.
I'm curious actually what my parents are gonna think about this, but
I don't know what your parents think, but I know what your parents' think.
Okay.
I just, you know what I mean? If I go back 2-3 generations, I'm certain that if you would tell your great grandparents that you went to Hebron to visit the two of the patriarchs and matriarchs, they'll be quite happy.
Right, in a sovereign Jewish state.
Right, they'll be ecstatic.
What?
Yeah.
What the fuck are you talking about?
That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool.
This state's a miracle, man. This country's a miracle.
There you go.
And it's worth defending and preserving, for God's sakes, and to let it be the best that it can be. You know, I take the approach of ignorance. Of like, I need to learn more about what the hell's going on. Anyway, good talking to you, man.
Thank you.